And welcome back everyone to another BasePac digitizing tutorial. My name is Britta Sanders and today I would like to do some nice cording design with you. Here I already imported a picture and I am planning to do a cording here in all these step lines here and around the contours. With the same design, by the way, I also want to make a sequin design, so also check out the other YouTube videos if you find something useful there. Well, the first step is I have to define my needle colors here, so I don't get confused. If I go into my design info, I have here the colors. So the first one I know will be the cording. Yeah, because my cording on my machine is on the right hand side, so I use needle number 1. I probably turn this one white. So the next color I am using here some antique pink and I'm planning a color shading. I will show you later. So I will use the second shade of pink and then in the end I will use some pastel blue here. Okay. I am now starting to digitize here, coordinate mode. Insertion is already active. Now I have to also switch to needle number 2 immediately because 1 is kept for the cording, which will be on top later. I set my first stitches manually. And now I do my outer contour shape. Now I start to trace.
If you want a corner point, you have to double click.
Now that I have my outer contour here, I have to now define my stitch direction. I'm planning to do a color shading.
So I will create now 2 stitch directions to later give them different densities. Second stitch direction and enter for calculation.
Now my plan is to later have 2 colors fading into each other. So therefore I have here the first stitch direction. I will make a different density, let's say 12. Enter always to confirm this window here. Click on the second stitch direction and make this one, let's say 28. Confirm. Pocket calculator and you see it's already more open. Now important here is also that you switch off your underlay. Yeah, so here in the parameters, these ones has to be unticked. If not, you will have some underlay and you wouldn't see your fading density.
Well, the certain density you have to find out. So I now try 12 and 28, but I don't know yet. I have to run on the machine and see if I like it. Depending on the material and the colors, you might have to change it.
You see here that my endpoint is at the very bottom. If yours is not at the very bottom or somewhere still on the start point, you can select here endpoint and with a click you can replace it. Same goes for the start point. The best is always, depending on your stitch direction, right? Mine goes from left to right, that your start point is on the top and your end point is at the bottom, so that you don't have any pickup stitches to get up first and then fill from top to bottom. Enter. Insertion. Menu stitches. Trimming. And now I will go over to the next needle, the light shade, to do my color shading. Therefore I start here on top. Again my auto contour. And another 2 stitch directions. Make sure the one is similar to the first one, otherwise you have no chance to make it anyway similar. Make another one. Another trick would be, which makes it much easier and exactly the same, if you go here into the module mode, click on this outer contour, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and you created a copy. Order of embroidery, needle change, and you will have exactly the 2 now. Going back into punching, switch the first one off and now click on the second one. This one now has to be opposite. So this one is now 28, enter. And this one now would be, let's say 12. Calculation. If you switch on this one now, it should be exactly opposite. I'm now planning to make in all these shades here, right? If I switch over the lights here, you can see I want to create some shading here. Therefore, I pick my next needle, go to needle number 4, fixing stitches, some outer contour, stitch direction, make it similar to the one which is there so that the color nicely fades into the other ones. Here we now change to the fraying edge type. And now you have to pick if it's this or that side. It depends on how you set the stitch direction. Right now this is on this side, so I changed this to 0 and this one to 10. Now it's on the right side here. Also the density, you have to see, I now make it a bit smaller, so I have a few more stitches here. Yeah, so this you also have to find out by stitching it out on the machine. Enter. This is now my endpoint here. I go back inside. I want my endpoint here because I try to avoid pickup stitches. Recalculation. Enter. Manual fixing. Trimming. And I go to the next position. Once all your stitches are finished, see I now have all the shading here, I want to go over to the needle with the cording device. I left over needle number 1 because on the right hand side of the machine is my cording device. Now I do some trimming. I go to needle number 1, go to the new position, and now I have to insert a stop so that my machine now waits for me to by hand lower the cording device. I'll do my fixing stitches now. Make sure they only go in one direction. Don't go backwards. Imagine on the cording would then be laid backwards. We don't want that. Only smoothly in one direction. Now before I start with my running line, I want to switch off these two outlines here so I can better see my picture underneath. Now I go to running. Now I start to trace my lines here.
Here pay attention to the size of your design. If it's too small for the cording, you should not do such small, dense lines here. Always open and smooth then. Now once you're finished with your running line, you can press confirm to enter and you're back in manual punching and you can do your end stitches. Again, they should also happen in the same direction, so don't go backwards here just like you didn't do at the start. Insert another stop to lift the cording device and then you're done with the cording. So depending on the cord diameter, you have to now define the stitch length of your stitches. Therefore, you can go here globally into Edit, Recalculation, and then here are all the parameters of your entire design. Now my running lines here all should have the stitch length of, let's say, 1.5 or 1.8 millimeters. As well, you will also have to test on the machine. So if the cording is in the corners not grabbed properly, you will probably have to make the stitch length shorter. So I would recommend in the first place something between 1.5 and 2.2 millimeters.
Okay, so now we've got everything finished. By the way, if you have everything here in one block, you can also, if you go into module mode, say block, make automatically after each needle change and trimming, also after a stop, for example. Yeah, and they're all split here now. Punching, Control End. You can see I have got in my end a stop and a trimming. I want to run this one on the machine now. Therefore, I export my design here with export. ZSK transport code on my desktop. And now I will put this on the machine.
I hope you liked this coding tutorial. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below or speak to me on the next show. I thank you very much for watching and I hope you enjoy your trials and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.